as we were going through that, I was kind of thinking about my own personal journey in this country, and I got my beautiful children here with me today. This is Amrit, who's there. About 7 years ago, we all endured the impact of one of the deadliest hate crimes that was committed in Wisconsin, and definitely in 50 years, by an affiliated white supremacist named Wade Michael Page, who attacked the Gurdwara, the Sikh temple of Wisconsin in Oak Creek, and took the lives of 6 beautiful souls. One of those souls being my father and temple president, and their grandfather, Satwant Singh Kaleka. Now both of them were in the car with me, and it was only because my daughter Amris forgot a notebook at the house that we were not inside the temple at the same time. My mother made it out; she survived. And there's a few things that I remember vividly clear that day. One of them was of Amris holding a red notebook. And when we go through the list of brilliant things, because we turned around to get that red notebook, that was one of the most vivid memories of making a child a priority. And I have been trying and attempting, sometimes with fail, but hopefully sometimes with success, to make them a priority and to teach them love and teach them empathy and teach them to take care of the world that they inherit, and hopefully I can make it a better one than the one that we inherited as parents, as fathers. After that shooting happened, there was a journey to be taken. And sometimes we think that when we take this journey, we can just, maybe this is a guy thing, but you can just take out a whole bunch of work. And somehow, some way, you don't have to feel or grieve. And that was my grieving process. And this grieving process looked like taking on, how do we handle funerals? How do we handle the response? Because we knew why the shooter did what he did, right? And if the response, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me as well was, as he was talking about the list and he's going in order, initially we're thinking more about the response. And we know that, and nervousness is like, if we don't respond, what happens? If the response doesn't overwhelm the act, what happens? Sometimes there's a responsibility in responding, and we fail, and then the failure seems to haunt us. So I knew that would be the way it was. I knew the next person, as they talked about that book with suicide. It's kind of the same way right now with hate crimes. That was in 2012. And how many hate crimes have we seen in places of worship? How many casualties are happening? And the same effect with suicides is happening with violence. It can be contagious. So we have to step up, and we have to increase our own initiative. This is everybody in here. Has to increase our own initiative and say, look, we're not going to wait for the next one to happen. We're going to go reach out to somebody. We know the person that's suffering within our family. Pain not transformed is transferred or consumed. His mother was going through pain. We know people in our lives that are going through pain. Sometimes they become so toxic that we don't want to reach out to them. We all have somebody in mind right now. We have to be courageous. So over time, I reached out to the person that is the most unlikeliest of people to reach out to. I reached out to the person who started the same gang that the shooter belonged to. The founding person who founded that gang. And I asked him the same question you were asking. Why? Why? Why did this person do this? Why did he attack those 6 people? And he told me quite simply, hurt people hurt other people. And what we have to do going forward is to heal. that healing starts from yourself. We think that we have to heal the world, but we can simultaneously look out of windows as we look in the mirrors. You can do the same thing. You have to do the same thing. So, this is the first time I'm telling my son and daughter this, but I had to go back and do the same thing. I had to sit in groups with other people. Today I'm a trauma therapist. And I thought, I've been a police officer in the inner city of Milwaukee. I have been an educator. I worked with at-risk high school youth in the inner city of Milwaukee. After this whole thing happened, I became a trauma therapist in the city of Milwaukee. Somehow, some way, we think that we can cheat the process. And somebody sat me down and said, listen, Pardeep, you're phenomenal, but don't cheat the progress. Don't cheat the process. Because if you do, you will be no good for your children, for your family, and for your community. And so I stand here today in front of you, just blessed by the invitation to come here and speak. And I ask you for just one simple favor, and that's one simple act, is to go ahead and reach out to those people that you might have disconnected from, and have that courage. Thank you, and God bless.